した。ついに始まりました。このように本線が変わっているわけです。
Run Lola Run is a 1998 German film that's written and directed by Tom Tykwer. So Run Lola Run is this week's patron poll winner, and it actually made quite the comeback. Tetsuo 2 Body Hammer actually had a commanding lead at one point, and one way or another, Run Lola Run, I guess you could say, ran its way to the top, and eventually outbeat Tetsuo 2. And I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit disappointed that Tetsuo 2 lost, because Tetsuo is one of my favorite horror films ever made, especially on the experimental side of horror. And I've just been massively curious to what the sequel's like. But after actually watching Run Lola Run, I gotta say I'm quite glad that I watched this film, because I had such a blast with it. It's a pretty short film. It's like only an hour and 20 minutes or so, or if even that. And it was just one of the most energetic and exciting experiences that I've had watching a film in quite some time. This is a film that, it's not going to be filled with mountains of depth and substance or anything, but it's just a hell of a good time. I did expect this film to be a high energy and kind of anxiety-inducing experience, but this film actually turned out to be more animated than I expected. And I don't just mean animated as in like cartoon animation, even though there actually is a segment here that is animated in that way. But I'm using the word animated to describe more of what I got from this film's style, whether it be the camera movements or especially the editing. The editing in this film is so rapid fire and creative. The stylistic editing in this film may actually be my favorite aspect of this film, and is probably the aspect that impressed me the most overall, because it's through this rapid style of editing that it's not only used to convey narrative information, but it's also used in a way to kind of get into the character's psyche and kind of understand where they are mentally at the moment. Like, you have this moment in the first 15 minutes where the main character gets introduced to this giant conflict that's happening, and in that moment the camera's kind of swirling around her character, and you get these quick insertions of all kinds of different images, which was used to not only capture her thought process, but also to kind of capture her frantic mental state at the moment. And again, it's not just that scene either. This entire film from start to finish is filled with moments where the editing is really elevating this material and, again, kind of contributing to why this film is so high energy and so engaging. But it's not only the editing in this film, it's also the camera movements and especially the soundtrack. I really dug the soundtrack to this film. And the director himself, Tom Tykwer, actually had a huge hand in producing and composing the soundtrack as well. And you also have the main actress, played by Franka Potent, that also did the vocals for a lot of these songs as well. And I just think that's absolutely killer, because the soundtrack is awesome. And it basically sounds like a type of fast-paced techno, something that you would definitely hear in the late 90s and early 2000s. It's something that definitely reminds me of the sound of a video game menu screen of like an early 2000s FIFA game or something. And the title of the film is Run Lola Run, and believe me, the film lives up to that title. It does not let you down. The main character spends, at the very least, half of this film's runtime running. And I really got to give the actress, again, Franka Potent, huge props. Just the amount of physicality that she had to bring to this role, just having to run all over the place all the time, had to be exhausting. Not only physically, but also mentally. But that has to take a mental toll on you at some point. And I also really loved the character design of the main character. With the red hair and the tank top and the green pants. It's just, it really pops out at you. It's vibrant, it's memorable. And again, is one of the many reasons why I mentioned that this film came off more animated than I expected. Because her character design seems like something that I would see in a video game or in an anime or something. And also the film kind of more than implies that the main character also kind of has a superpower through the use of her high-pitched vocals and screams. So that's like another thing that reminded me of something that I would see out of an anime. But there is an aspect to this film that I can see kind of annoying a lot of people. Even though this film is very well received, I can see this being a bit frustrating. And it's essentially the fact that you experience this film 3 different times, except each time it's kind of in an alternate reality where people make different decisions and you have different possible outcomes. And at first, it kind of turned me off a little bit, but I kind of got over it and just rolled along with it. And after watching the film, it just kind of grew on me. But one of the biggest reasons why I do think that it pulled off the alternate reality setup quite well is the fact that it uses that format to kind of explore themes about time and free will, and also the butterfly effect in regards to how a small and what you think to be insignificant reaction with a stranger could actually deeply impact what happens in the rest of their life. And I like the way that was actually conveyed too, because again, it's through that editing. There's times where the main character is, running down the sidewalk and, she'll run into somebody. And whenever she has this quick interaction with the stranger, the film, again, through that kind of rapid fire editing and stylistic choice, kind of has a series of photographs that kind of show you what happens in that person's life from there on out. And each time you witness the film in an alternate reality, that stranger's outcome changes, and it's because her interaction with them was slightly different from the one before. And it's these kind of stylistic choices that I admired, because it's not only there to give you a more engaging and fun experience, but it was actually there to also kind of explore the themes of the film. That again has to do with the profound effect of time and free will. And for that reason, the kind of alternate reality scenarios that this film set up really grew on me. But as I was watching this film, there was still that thought in the back of my head, like, is this lazy or is this actually genius? But one thing that I will say about this film is that I do wish that these characters were explored a little more. But, just by design and by the nature of this film, you can only really get so much out of them. And even though, as I mentioned, I really admired Franka Potent's physicality in this role, I do wish that, and especially in some scenes, that she just brought it home a little more, like in terms of her emotional conveyance. I still think that she embodied the character quite well. There are just some moments in this film where I feel like, again, she could have just expressed more emotionally considering the context of what we're watching. But at the same time, it's not even really her fault. That's more of like the fault on the director. But either way, obviously, I still really enjoy this film. I had a blast with it. So I'm going to give Run Lola Run a soft 8 out of 10. It's hard for me to really see anybody dislike this film. This is one of those films where the vast majority of people are either going to like or just be in love with. But either way, that's all I got to say about Run Lola Run. If you really enjoy what I had to say about the film, just give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.